What is going on, guys? MMA Island team, we got the fight picks and we got the main event of the evening. We will leave it to Bruce Buffer, Joe Martinez, or whoever it is,
Hopefully
but
Bruce Buffer.
probably Bruce Buffer. But we got maybe not a main event because it's another boring 3-round main event, and I don't like these very much. But we got Aleksandar Rakic taking on Anthony Smith. Man, very interesting matchup as most of these fights are. And if you guys are just watching this one first, make sure you guys go back and check out the early prelims and watch it to the fight, watch it to the main event, watch it that way. But before I get on to the rambling, I'll pass it on to Zach.
I want to first start this by kind of exposing myself and getting people angry at me in the comments section. One of my most controversial MMA opinions, and a lot of people will crucify me for this, is that Volkan Oezdemir did beat Aleksandar Rakic. I know a lot of people disagree. Most people disagree, but I do think Volkan Oezdemir beat Aleksandar Rakic. But it doesn't matter. I just had to put that one out there. Rakic, we have not seen since December. And leading up to that fight, I'm just going to talk like the Oezdemir fight like he won because pretty much everyone else thinks he won. And, I mean, you can't take much stock in that loss because he went toe-to-toe with one of the better light heavyweights in Volkan Oezdemir. And, man, Aleksandar Rakic has some of the most beautiful finishes I think you can ever see. Jimmy Manuwa finish, gorgeous. Just picture perfect, one of the better head kicks in history. And then a beautiful spinning back kick over Devin Clark, a guy who's notoriously tough to finish. Shout out Alonzo Manifield. And then just an absolute battering of Justin Ledet. And the thing about Aleksandar Rakic is he's a physically imposing monster. 6'4", 78-inch reach, and jacked to all hell. And we've seen the blueprint on how to beat him. Now, does Anthony Smith fit that? No. You have to limit Rakic's movement in order to beat him. His movement is essential to his game. And that is how I believe Volkan Oezdemir beat him. It was through the leg kicks. You saw the gigantic welts that opened up on Aleksandar Rakic's leg when Oezdemir was just kicking it and kicking it and kicking it all night long. Does Anthony Smith bring that leg kicking game? Absolutely not. And, I mean, stylistic advantages aside, Anthony Smith is coming off one of the worst beatings I think I have ever seen against Glover Teixeira.
Painful to watch.
Painful to watch. Did I predict that fight correctly? Hell no, I didn't. Because who could have seen that coming? I mean, Glover Teixeira could have won, but the way that he did, dominating for 3 rounds, no one saw that coming. And that fight shows me one thing, and especially if you look at some of the other fights, is that Anthony Smith, the fights that he wins, he is almost always losing. Anthony Smith is a guy who loses his fights until he wins. And I believe that in his fight against Glover Teixeira, he tried to change that narrative. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, you look at Anthony Smith's fights against Gustafsson. Gustafsson was winning. His fight against Oezdemir was winning. Those are the 2 best examples as well because, you know, the fights over Shogun and Rashad Evans, you cannot put too much stock into. And then you look at his middleweight fights, you know, that's middleweight. He's not there anymore. I think he tried to change the narrative because as we saw against Glover Teixeira, he went out and he tried to finish him. He put a lot of shots on his punches and he gassed after the first round. And I mean, yeah, he trains with a good camp at Factory X, but if it wasn't for Yusuf Salal right now, Factory X would have a very, very bad reputation. Because I mean, that not stopping that fight in between rounds, especially when Anthony Smith is saying his teeth are falling out. Ugh, that's bad. And that's Yusuf Salal. He's probably their only fighter right now that's absolutely killing it. But, okay, you're coming off of that just horrendous beating. You're eating way too many shots. And now you're facing a guy with all the power in the world, with being one of the most explosive fighters I think I have ever watched, and Aleksandar Rakic. You're in trouble. This is an absolutely horrible idea for Anthony Smith to return so soon. And what's even crazier is that Anthony Smith tried to return earlier. He said that he wanted to fight before this time. I'm just trying to think, are you out of your mind? The only way that Anthony Smith can win this fight also, he has a very good ground game. That's one thing that a lot of people don't really talk about with Anthony Smith, is that his ground game is very, very solid. But against Aleksandar Rakic, someone who's so big, so strong, and has an excellent takedown defense, he won't be able to get it there. So it's going to be ugly. I think Aleksandar Rakic is going to finish Anthony Smith, if not in round 1, round 2. I'd be surprised if this fight goes to decision. I don't know if Smith's cardio was there. I mean, maybe it was just an outlier with him overextending in the Glover Teixeira first round because we've never really seen that from him before. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have to pick Rakic finishing him because that's just what all the signs are telling me.
Yeah, I will have to agree with you on this one. Man, just I want to mention something crazy about the stats, but before I do that, because people could just call me a casual, I want to mention a couple of things that you mentioned about these guys' last few fights. So first, I'll talk about Anthony Smith here. He fought John Jones for the title.
He could have been champion. He could have been champion.
I give him credit. I give Anthony Smith credit. He went the distance with the champ.
He didn't take the bad way out and become champion off of DQ.
100% didn't take the DQ from the legal knee to the head, which was a pretty bad one also. So I give him his credit for that. But the main thing, and there's 2 fights that I relate this to in recent history, and especially before the Glover Teixeira fight, 2 fights that I said to myself, this reminds me of this: the John Jones Anthony Smith fight and the Kamaru Usman Tyron Woodley fight reminded me a lot of the same fight. And not because of how the fight went, not because of they had this much and this many takedowns, none of that. The reason I say those fights remind me of the same fight is because when you look at Anthony Smith against John Jones and Tyron Woodley against Kamaru Usman, they were the same. They were the same. They were gun shy. They couldn't pull the trigger. They weren't able to implement their game on this guy. And, man, it's the same thing with Tyron Woodley. And then Tyron Woodley went on to face Gilbert Burns recently this year. Same thing. He looked gun-shy. He got knocked down. It looked bad. Then Anthony Smith obviously gets the win against Alexander Gustafsson, a fight that you mentioned he was losing before he got the finish. And albeit maybe you could say Alexander Gustafsson's at a little bit of a vulnerable state. And then he goes on to face Glover Teixeira. And he looked vulnerable again. He looked like the John Jones fight, and he looked like Tyron Woodley against Kamaru Usman and Tyron Woodley against Gilbert Burns. Obviously, I'm not mentioning anything about the fight style. Actually, I guess I am saying about the fight style, but these are 2 different weight classes, 2 far different weight classes. But the point is that they looked gun shy, and if you're going to be gun shy against Aleksandar Rakic, man. This dude will head kick you into oblivion. I think one of my favorite head kick knockouts of all time against Jimmy Manuwa. Amazing, crazy, just absolutely insane, absolutely amazing knockout. The way he set it up, he had like a 1-2 combination. Left kick to the head, man. Oh, it was unbelievable. And then Anthony Smith, talking about him against Glover Teixeira, he looked good in the first round, if I do remember correctly. And then it kind of just all fell apart after that. And I don't really know what happened. And it's kind of crazy that he's even taking this fight because Aleksandar Rakic is, man, this dude's insane. He's, as you mentioned, he's got looking at his stats right now. And this is not what I wanted to mention about the stats. I will talk about Anthony Smith's stats that I wanted to mention in just a second. But Aleksandar Rakic has a reach advantage. He's got 5.17 strikes landed per minute. 2.41 absorbed per minute. Accuracy, 52% striking accuracy, 53% striking defense. Takedown defense, 88% takedown defense, 1.2 average per minute. Albeit not very great in the accuracy department at 28%, but still better than Anthony Smith by 1. But the point I wanted to mention about Anthony Smith here is Anthony Smith is a guy that I think a lot of people hold in very high regard in the light heavyweight division. I think that's like justified. He's fought some very good, very tough opponents: Volkan Oezdemir, Alexander Gustafsson, Shogun Rua, Rashad Evans. He's fought like the guys he's beat, and then obviously losing fashion to Thiago Santos, John Jones, Glover Teixeira. He's fought some very, very tough opponents, but looking at his stats, man, he's some very, very ugly stats. But remember, against some very high opponents. And as you mentioned, he typically loses his fights before he wins them. But look at this. So he's got 3.19 landed per minute, 46% accuracy, absorbing 4.57 per minute at 43% defense. Doesn't average very many takedowns. Even when he does, he's at 27% accuracy. He's got 51% takedown defense. It's not looking very good on paper for Anthony Smith. The thing about Anthony Smith is Anthony Smith throughout his career, and he has an absolutely giant career at 48 fights. He typically wins his fights by finish, and he's got two decision wins at 48 fights. That's absolutely insane. And if you're going to win a fight and you need to win it by finish, going up against Aleksandar Rakic, a dude who you can't take down, and I guess you could say, you could say Smith has the advantage on the ground, but I just think he's not going to be able to get it there. So it really doesn't even play a factor in my mind. Looking at Rakic, he's got the advantage of striking game. He's faster. He's got more. He's got more volume. He's got more power. I think he's more in his prime. There's just so many factors that just lead towards Aleksandar Rakic on this one. Anthony Smith, if he's going to win this one, in my opinion, he's kind of got to get lucky, or he's got to take him to the ground. I don't think he's going to be able to take him to the ground. Really need to watch back that Volkan Oezdemir fight, especially after what I heard you talking about. But man, hey, I just want to point this out to you here, Zach. Aleksandar Rakic lost to Volkan Oezdemir, but Anthony Smith submitted Volkan Oezdemir. I'm just saying, MMA math, it's undefeated. So, hey.
Always adds up.
It's MMA math versus us for this one because we both got Aleksandar Rakic on this one. Just taking the vulnerability into play, I think you definitely got to take Rakic on this one. Albeit Glover Teixeira is obviously a beast. John Jones, obviously a beast. Thiago Santos, obviously a beast. He's lost to the beast of the beasts. But Rakic is a beast as well, as you mentioned. So it's really, really tough to say. That's why we want to know what you guys got to say. So make sure you guys are dropping your comments and letting us know if you guys got Anthony Smith in this one. And if you guys got Rakic, make sure you guys say, oh, hey guys, you guys are so smart. I got him too. Just let us know what you guys think before the fights, preferably. Don't be one of those waiters. I got to get